What's up, y'all? It is your wild, not with a D, wild. It ends LE. It is your erstwhile conjurer, Dr. Treasure. And I am going to cook some dinner and talk with you about how to banish despair. Over on Patreon, the members over there um, get a podcast earlier than everyone else. And over there, I read the banishing and break down, what I'm talking about. But let's talk about despair and what we mean as we face this current political reality, which would drive anyone to despair. If you're interested in Patreon, you can go to patreon.com or look up Dr. Treasure on Patreon, or go to the link in my bio where I have the link to my Patreon, which is quite affordable. One tier is $2. That's the We're in This Together tour. And the other one is $7, and that's the Mother's Board tour. And it gets you access to of course, the podcast earlier than everyone else, one free ritual with step by step instructions and ingredients every month, and a book club every month. And this um, month, we are talking about, I'm turning on my Kindle here. You see it waking up there. We are talking about A Healing Grove, African Tree Remedies and Rituals for Body and Spirit by Stephanie Rose Bird. I found this book so enchanting, and you would too if you were over there talking with me about it. So let's see what we're going to cook. I'm going to take you with me, and we're going to talk about banishing despair. So basically, I am talking about the deep sadness, not the fleeting sadness that we might feel if we stub our toe, or if somebody cuts us off in traffic, or if we have to give apologies for being late somewhere, or you have a misunderstanding with some stranger in public with whom you have no community and no stakes in their behavior. I'm talking about the deep sadness. And so I think I'm going to cook cabbage. Got this beautiful cabbage from the Soulard Farmers Market in St. Louis. I am going to cook squash, which I got from the Ruler's grocery store near me. And I think I'm going to do smothered wings. So a meat and two vegetables. I might add rice. We'll see how I feel. But after I get some things assembled, I'll come back and talk to you more about how to banish despair. All right, y'all, I'm back. I cleaned the chicken. You can see the chicken behind me in in a silver bowl. And I am going to fix a little drink. My version of a salty dog. A salty dog is grapefruit juice, vodka, and I think usually like a splash of soda. But I'm just going to do grapefruit juice and vodka. I already salted the rim of my mason glass here, and then I'm going to add a little ice. I do not measure. I do not measure these things. So let me put this down so you all can see what's going on. Yeah. Oh, that's a good angle. So, I'm gonna add the vodka first so I can control how much there is. Let's see here. Am I recording? Am I recording, y'all? I feel like I am. Am I recording? Y'all, this is rough. And I promise you I'm not gonna do any editing. Yes, I am recording. All right, so let's see here. Maybe 2 fingers of vodka. Turn it that way so y'all can see it. I like this Georgia peach vodka. This has been nice. Peach is my favorite flavor. Georgia peach flavored vodka. So I just did, I mean, people would call that 1 finger, but y'all know this ain't for the weak. And so I'm going to put the grapefruit juice in there now. Do like this. Boom. And then the ice is gonna weaken it even further. But this is a tasty drink, and dare I say, nutritious. And dare I say, vegan. Is it gluten-free too? Maybe it is. Maybe it is. Okay, so let me get this ice. Let me see. I have it on cubed. I think I want to do crushed instead. I think I hear my son coming in too. And I left it at cubed. Left it at cubed. Hey son, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Good. This is my handsome son, Ramses Amir Williams, in whom I am well pleased. His sister came in from a night of carousing and said she was sleepy and needed to go straight to bed. So, as I was saying, I have cleaned my chicken here. And now I'm going to season it and put it in the oven since it takes the longest. It's now 5:05 p.m. my time. Cheers. Oh, that's excellent. The combination of the peach flavored vodka, the organic grapefruit juice, and then the salted rim. If you're like me, you like fruit with salt, fruit with tahini. So, ooh, that's nice. That's nice. So, Ramses, how was work?
It was good.
It was good.
It wasn't too busy.
Okay.
Sunday. There was a rush.
Mm-hmm.
That was probably after church. Running people.
Okay. Well, I'm about to put this chicken in, and everything should be ready by 7. Nice. Grown folks dinner time. Grown folks dinner time. So I'm gonna bring y'all over here by the different condiments and seasonings. So I usually do the same basic thing, and then I might add like an onion soup or like a cream of celery type of situation in order to encourage a gravy and a certain type of smothering activity. But the same seasonings I use every time are salt and pepper. Oh, as my binder, I use mustard on chicken. So I'm going to put mustard on there. And then I do salt and pepper. Here's the pepper. And here is the salt. And Then I do garlic powder, onion powder, garlic powder. Okay. And what I'm eventually going to do, y'all, is, mash this all around and make sure that it gets well seasoned. And then paprika. Which is just dried red bell pepper, y'all. But the drying concentrates it and gives it a nice smoky, mildly peppery flavor. And then I do parsley. If I had dry cilantro, I would prefer that, but I don't have it. And I always forget it when I go to the grocery store. So I'm just going to do parsley. All right. And I feel like there we go. It's a little dark for me. So if you see, this is what the chicken looks like, and then I take it and I just smush it around so that it all gets real well seasoned, so it can be real tasty. This is just a dinner for me, my son, and my daughter. I have raised these 2 adult children mostly alone because my marriage ended when my daughter was 2 turning 3 and my son was 8 turning 9. They're 6 years apart. So, well combine the chicken. And I promise y'all we're going to get back to talking about how to combat despair, because I know a lot of people are in pain about that. So the chicken is well combined. Let me rinse my hand over here, because I want to do something to create a gravy. There are several ways you can do that. You can just do, flour and some sort of liquid. I'm trying to think here. Oh, I didn't do Worcestershire sauce. I love to do Worcestershire sauce on the chicken too. It gives it this umami that I enjoy. There's an umami flavor that the Worcestershire gives me that I enjoy. Okay. Okay. Now the question is, what is a way that I will create a gravy? Got to figure that one out. What do I have up here? What do I have up here, y'all? I see ranch packet. I see a chili packet. I see a spaghetti sauce flavor, hemp hearts. So this lets me know it's not going to come from out of there. Let's see what else we got up here. Oh, I got cream of chicken. So here's what we'll do. We'll make a little cream of chicken to go on there. Give it a nice little liquid. So the same bowl that I cleaned and rinsed the chicken in with vinegar several times. Y'all didn't see it. I'm going to rinse it one more time for good measure. And then I'm going to pour in the cream of chicken soup. And then you pour in water to make it. Okay. And then you get a whisk. See if I can make sure y'all can see it good. There we go. So we're going to make a nice little cream of chicken mix. And then come over here and pour it on top of the wings. So this is going to be kind of a blonde smothering in a way, but it actually needs to be looser. So I'm going to pour a little more water, pour the rest out, and then pour a little more water. I already have the oven preheated to 375. 375, y'all. So let me add a little more water to this. Then I'm going to put this in the oven. It's going to probably take around 2 hours. 2 hours. But there it is in the oven now. You'll get to see how it looks later. And I can start on my cabbage and squash later because those only take around 30 minutes, actually. Maybe a little bit more. And if the chicken's going to take 2 hours, that means I don't need to start preparing this until another hour. So let's talk about despair. I'm going to get situated so we can talk properly. All right, y'all, always switch to this side of the kitchen table because the patio lets the sun come this way, and I know the lighting will be better. Over my shoulder is an incredible painting by the great Dale Chambers. She's a brilliant St. Louis-based artist. And she and I collaborate on something called Fannie Lou Hamer House. You can look up Fannie Lou Hamer House on Instagram. But that being said, let's talk about despair. So, I wrote a banishing, getting rid of despair. And one of the things I say is close off the entryway to your heart that says, abandon all hope, ye who enter here. And I wrote it because I was becoming concerned about the timber of the y'all can have it conversation. And I definitely believe in self-care. And I definitely believe that the U.S. has extracted enough labor out of us. And personally for me, outside of survival help, right? So I'm not going to not give a black woman a hand up because I'm currently resting because the U.S. has pissed me off, right? So I'm not going to not give a homeless person food if I have it. I'm not going to do survival, immediate need. I might die without this need. I'm not going to not do that for people. But I'm unavailable for any more direct actions and public protests that aren't tied to demands and or tied to systemic change. So, just getting one company to act differently, but getting capitalism to fall, I'm with that. So the despair banishing came to mind because it seemed to me that people weren't making the caveats that I just made about survival help and about systemic change. They were like, well, electoral politics didn't work for us. We still believe in electoral politics, but we're going to take our ball and go home. And the deep hurt, disappointment, and betrayal, I get it. I get it. It happened to me earlier than this wave of people, but I am still empathetic. So let me tell you just a little bit about the part of my story that I'm referring to. I was raised in a politicized home. My mother briefly was a member of the Nation of Islam. And she always made it clear to me that there was a radical way and that the U.S. was against it and worked hard to um, disappear and silence those who were against it. Couple of examples. One example, I remember listening to Fight the Power, the Public Enemy album. And like all young people, I thought what they were rapping about was new information and that I would enlighten the elders in my home. So I came to my mother and I was talking about, the suppression of the Black Panthers and that plot. And she really was looking at me like I was insane because it's like, she was thinking, I literally lived through that. And I remember she kind of sarcastically said, yeah, I know. You know what I'm saying? So it would be the equivalent of my daughter coming to me and being like, do you know there was somebody named Trayvon Martin and he was unarmed? And I'd be like, wait a minute. So that the membership in the Nation of Islam, which of course sprang from a couple of things from Black people. Going away from Christian church, seeing it as accommodationist, as integrationist, and the belief that Islam was a more African spirituality. So, that being said, that is my slight proof that I'm from a politicized home. So I always was clear on our position in the U.S. But like most Black folks, like the ones who have lately here become angry and frustrated, I thought what everybody told me: you got to be at the table to affect policy. You got to get inside the system to change it. And uncritical pro vote talk. And then Trayvon Martin was killed. And I was so shocked when his murderer, George Zimmerman, got free. I wrote a poem about it, and I remember delivering the poem at a park in St. Louis, and Trayvon Martin's father, who happened to be from where my father is from, East St. Louis, Illinois, was there in the park. And so what was that, 2013? And then in 2014, just 20 minutes away from me, in a space where I had spent time, Michael Brown was murdered. So, like a lot of people during the time who were not really connecting this to the need to get rid of a system, I was like, oh, well, we just need more Black police, and we need body cameras. because they never do anything. It's the cameras. If the cameras were there, this wouldn't have happened. Nobody would dare act in a way that was out of ethics, that was against the rules, that was murderous on camera. Now, if you know anything about the US since 2014, all we have is footage of citizens and police murdering black people. That's literally all we have is footage. It's almost like the racist ego said, "Oh, you want it? Oh, you want it on tape? Okay." So I was disabused. So I was disabused of belief in major parts of the system through that. Um, and then I have to go back in time a little bit to uh, a moment that I lived in the Bay Area of California right after high school. Right after high school, my high school rap band got a record deal. I went to college for a semester, and then we traveled to the Bay Area of California to record and tour. And when I lived in California for mostly almost 5 years, that was the 19-year-old Mississippian finding out not everybody was straight and Christian. And that was the 19-year-old Mississippian getting hip to a socialist frame of thought, a and hearing more and understanding more about the Panthers and how they were Marxist, how they were communist. Um, and so I left there with that information bubbling, and it did change some of my behavior. To this day, I in general can't wear things with big logos because it feels as if I'm advertising for corporations. So that's inside of me. My politicized home is inside of me, but I'm still being raised. I returned to Jackson State University, and as you know, black universities are, they're kind of the seat of neoliberalism. They are the seat of black capitalism. Even my university, which is a working class university, um, but everybody's trying to just get a good job and survive. Everybody's trying to become the person in the community that will eventually receive the plaques and the awards, and that will be the black person that other black people say follow that path, as opposed to a path that leads to imprisonment or addiction. So, jump back from that time back up to Michael Brown being murdered and the intervening years. And we have Philando Castile, we have um, Sandra Bland. The list just really goes on and on of the state murders and, private citizens deputizing themselves to murder people that happened. And the more it happened and the more standard the non-response became, it made me begin to see that, oh, there's something deeper going on here. Like, there's a reason we're being kept terrorized. There's a reason we're being ritually killed on camera. And so much of it is so that billionaires can stuff their pockets, because white people have been given black people to hate and feel better than, and men have been given women to hate and feel better than, and straight people have been given LGBTQIA plus people to hate and feel better than, and it just goes on and on. And while we're over here trying to establish dominance, there are people in the corner becoming trillionaires. There are people in the corner becoming trillionaires who say the reason we're not trillionaires is because of immigrants, yet they are an immigrant. So, as I began to realize that the central problem that could be materially changed, right? So not relying on people to have a change of heart and to feel love and to see humanity, but something that could be materially changed, right? Was the capitalist system. And you have to have revolutionary optimism in order to work toward that. You have to have revolutionary optimism to believe that another world is possible. And as I was listening to people after this latest presidential election, say, I'm out, I ain't got, y'all can have it. We tried to tell you. I was agreeing with all of that, but I do not agree that that's the only matrix within which we can see change through electoral politics. So I was seeing people just go down into everyone is hateful, everyone is evil. There is no accountable community. There is no community of beloved. There is no generation worth saving. And it made me write a banishing against despair. So the first thing I want to say is we are a community, and we are going to eventually be ancestors who will be accountable to community. So it behooves you to take care of yourself and then come back out with a way that you can love on community, right? So I would say do not give in to despair, but also don't pretend that it doesn't exist, because we do live in a country where there's sort of a manic positivity. Look on the bright side. There's always somebody who has it worse. Yes, there's always somebody who has it worse, but I have it bad right now. So, definitely own your sadness and own your despair. But of course, that is within a matrix. I am recommending within a matrix of revolutionary optimism. The second thing I would tell you is there are some things to give up hope on. There are some things to be hopeless about that you shouldn't devote any more hope to. In my opinion, the U.S. colonial project is so corrupt, and it is so murderous and genocidal, and has been for hundreds of years. And there is no saving it. There is no election that's going to stop the fact that the U.S. has military bases in everybody else's country, but nobody else has military bases in this one. There is no election that's going to stop the fact that the January 6th rioters will be receiving reparations, while the descendants of the people who were enslaved for hundreds of years and whose labor and who were sexually trafficked won't be receiving reparations as of yet. There is no election that's going to give indigenous people their land back. So there has to be a whole new regime, a whole new system. So I do encourage you to give up hope in this one, and then that way you're freed up to see something beautiful. Look, it's just like a love relationship. If you're in a relationship that dishonors you, if you're in a relationship that's abusive, if you're in a relationship that's unequal, where you're being dominated in some way, financially, emotionally, when you leave that relationship, when you decide I give up hope in this is hopeless, There's a pattern here. Then you're freed up to find a relationship that does honor you, that is complimentary, that is not abusive, that is life giving. And it's the same thing with the U.S. capitalist system. We give this up. There's something else. We've been taught that there's nothing else, but there's something else. And then the final thing I will say to you before I go and check on the food and come back with a food to reveal the food to you. I will say to you is stop thinking that you also have to do all of this alone. That's another thing, that individualism that has been taught by the agents of evil in the West. Maya Angelou has a poem where she says, nobody but nobody will make it out here alone. Look, when you are ill, other people are well. And when you are well, other people are ill. Right? So you have to remember that we are an organism made up of many limbs. Those of us who are caring, accountable members of the community, we're not alone. So it's okay for you to take care of yourself because other people are working on it. The same way there were ancestors who worked on it. In my home state of Mississippi, there was an ancestor whose name was Fannie Lou Hamer. And Fannie Lou Hamer did all kinds of things. She's the reason we have Head Start in Mississippi. She was working on that while my mother was raising me. Was my mother down in her part of the state also agitating for Head Start? No, she was not, because she was in a stage of life where she was raising an infant. And that is just one small example of the ways in which we're all donating our hoodoo, our ashe, to a grander project. So you can't give in to total despair if you're thinking, oh, well, if I don't do anything, nothing's going to happen, right? So on that note, I'm going to leave you briefly and then come back and show you how dinner turned out. I almost forgot to show y'all the food. I was just about to make my plates. So here's the chicken. Here's the cabbage and rice back there. I did decide to add rice. And here is the squash. I don't know how you guys feel about Ethiopian food, but I love Ethiopian food, and they kind of chop up the squash in this way too. But let me finish making my plate so I can give you all the beautiful presentation. Yes. All right, there we go. Smothered chicken, rice, cabbage, and squash. Bon appetit. Hope you're having a great Sunday. Let me get this glare out of my face. Having a great Sunday and banishing despair.